now proudly presented on SNME. That's Sunday night's main event, Patreon and free feed.
Yo, we just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the shore fine. Winter ready on the four ties. Heavy traffic during 4-5. Gotta hustle on your own time. Color people every port side. We just people from the north side. Once the Timmy's hit the
Ladies
shore
and
fine.
gentlemen, your host, your boy, George Mackay here with a returning guest of Straight Talk Wrestling, the man who I credit with giving me one heck of a wrestling IQ for the hour we spoke the last time, the incomparable future Hall of Famer in my eyes, Al Snow.
How are you?
Sir?
If I were doing any better, I'd be jealous of myself.
So I actually, we did speak about a year and a half ago. It was one of my favorite conversations, and I know you speak to a lot of podcasters, so I'm sure you probably don't remember, but you gave me probably some of the best insight I've ever had in terms of the psychology of pro wrestling, talking about the origin of head, which, by the way, thank you for signing my mannequin head. That was a very cool moment for me, and I'm going to hang that in my basement with all kinds of pride.
Yeah.
But in terms of the psychology now of the business, and in terms of, I guess, getting yourself out there more in terms of the digital media and the content creation that's out there, did you think that wrestlers would be as pop culture and as successful as it has become, like making all of you essentially household names and bringing you kind of back into the forefront of pro wrestling?
I hoped, when it was done, while we were doing it, my goal was that if you were a fan of professional wrestling, that it would increase your appreciation and respect for it and for the wrestlers and what they have to go through to do it. If you were not a professional wrestling fan, it was my hope that it would motivate you. It would, maybe even if just nothing else, create a curiosity that could then potentially grow the audience and expand it even further for the wrestling business. And I think it's done that. I think that thanks to Greg Whiteley, he was able to pull the curtain back enough, but not so far that it killed the magic of wrestling, and people can still believe and still enjoy it for what it is.
Were you afraid of that? Like when they approached you with the idea, were you afraid of how far the curtain would be pulled back?
Yeah. It's no different than I always use the analogy of The Wizard of Oz. When the movie starts out, it's all black and white. It's very dull. And then Dorothy goes to Oz, and everything's colorful, magical, everything's possible. And at the end of the movie, we pull the curtain back too far, and we see it's just a little old man pushing buttons, twisting dials, and it goes back to black and white. All the magic goes away. So I wanted to open it up, but not pull the curtain so far back that we see me, the little old man, twisting the knobs and pushing the buttons to where it killed the magic for an audience.
Absolutely. One of my favorite moments in the documentary was the second episode where it's you, your wife, a couple of the OVW stars, Joe Mack being one of them, who's a good friend of mine, and you guys were all just eating dinner. I don't know what it was. I asked Joe if it was pizza. Oh, it was pizza. He said he didn't tarnish his body with any of that because he's immaculate, but he said you indulged yourself in about half the pizza is what he told me in the conversation.
Yeah, why not? I bought it. It's not like that cheap guy Joe Mack is going to buy it. So.
If that's fair. He is quite cheap. He actually gave me, he asked me for change one time, and he gave me back 3 ripped up $5 bills. And I accepted them because he's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah, well.
Scary dude.
Yeah, he usually just uses a Groupon for anything. So.
I figured that's what it was. But that scene where you're kind of talking about, like, you're watching WWE Raw and you're looking at things and you're kind of explaining it from your perspective, and they're also explaining it from theirs. But I saw the reaction, your face, the genuine reaction when they were both having that conversation with you. It looked like they were getting it and seeing it from your side before you could even speak. How cool is that to see, like, your knowledge rubbing off that way?
Oh, it's great. Because it's not a, see it my way type of thing. I want to give them an insight that will give them more opportunities to be able to have a chance at doing what they want to do, which is be a professional wrestler and being able to do that for a living and nothing else. And the only way they're going to be able to do that is to, really know and understand what it is they're trying to pursue, what an audience is really desiring to see, and then how to give it to them, So that's really all I want them to do is I just want them to have the best chance and the greatest when they get that, because if they're in it long enough and they really desire it, they'll get the opportunity. But they're only going to have one chance to make a first impression. and it's going to be a one and done, or it's going to be they're going to take the information and the experience that I give them, and they're going to be able to capitalize on it and then create that one opportunity into a career.
Absolutely. And another great moment for me in the documentary series was when they were trying to encourage you to get back in the ring for the big one, the first big one, which was a resounding success. I actually purchased it before the documentary, well before, and I loved it. I purchased it because I know Joe was going to be in the main event, but I did enjoy you whooping his ass, I'll be honest with you. I did enjoy that. I enjoyed it too. I enjoy watching Joe get his butt kicked. I don't know what it is. He's got that face you want to punch.
Yeah. I think a lot of people enjoy watching Joe get his butt kicked. I'm sure Joe's family members probably enjoyed it too.
Oh, 100%. I'm sure I could see at home his mom's like, oh, my poor baby, that schmuck, that son of a, But
thank God he's pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all he's got, right? There's nothing between the ears.
Oh.
But when they were encouraging you to get back in the ring, and I almost felt like, in a way, you were hesitant to do it because I guess you're always your own toughest critic, but I also felt like you didn't want to take away from your roster that you were helping build. Was that kind of the vibe that was I picking up on that vibe?
Yeah, that's why I don't feature myself on the show. If I'm on the show, then my responsibility changes. My responsibility becomes me. My responsibility is that I need to sell me so that I can sell the show. When I'm not on the show, I am able to devote my attention and my responsibility to all of the talent and try to sell them. But it's just the nature of the beast that if I'm on the show, it's now all about me. And and it's very difficult to try to, juggle the two at the same time. So I'd rather, and my time's passed. This is their time. So let me give 100% of my effort, my interest, my attention to them, not to myself. And that's why I didn't want to do it.
Absolutely, I get that. So did you and Head have a one-on-one conversation to figure out, do you have one more match in you? Did you and Head have a long reflective period of time of discussion?
Well, we talk a lot, you know what I mean? Most of the time we usually argue.
Who wins those arguments?
I would say me, but of course they would say them. So, I mean, that's because they just try to be obstinate and cantankerous.
It's a tumultuous relationship, the two of you.
It is. I mean, but it's spicy. You know what I mean? It has a certain,
fresh.
A little flair. It keeps the passion. And you just always keep things interesting. We go to the airport and they want to. They were like, I don't want to go through TSA. And he's like, I'm going to get brain cancer. And you're like, shut up. The X-ray's not going to give you cancer. And they're like, I don't want to ride in the bag. And I can't breathe. If you couldn't breathe, I wouldn't be able to hear you complaining. So, I want a seat. You can't. You can sit in the overhead bin. The seatbelt doesn't fit around you. So we've went through this. So, it's they want to drive sometimes. I'm like, no, not again.
Yeah, didn't they? Their license got taken away a few times, right?
For good reason too.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, when you don't have legs and arms, it's hard to kind of drive a car.
It's tough. Then they want to go out and whore around all the time.
Oh
so,
yeah, brutal.
Terrible.
Absolutely.
Always end up at a strip club.
My final question: what was the vibe in terms of, I know in documentaries they only let you see what they really want you to see, but I felt like the Wrestlers documentary really laid out the information and facts. How close was OVW to having its doors closed?
I was very close. It was. It's been a real challenge. What really happened with OVW was because the wrestling business takes a certain process. It takes a certain amount of time to build an audience. Everything is to educate an audience to like, dislike, believe, disbelieve, whatever you want them to, and it takes a long time to really generate and build. Especially like what we do. Makes it even more of a challenge as a weekly audience because we're literally running live television in the very city where you could just choose to sit at home and watch it for free in the comfort, safety, and security of your own home. So it's really that much more of an effort to do it. And we were just starting to really turn the corner, and then COVID hit, and then that was what put us behind the 8 ball, which gave entrance for Matt Jones and Craig Greenberg and Jeff Tuvlin to come in. and then we had to start from scratch again. We had to, rebuild. And, quite honestly, like, we were just really, prior to the Netflix airing, we were starting to really, for the bigger events, we'd always sell out, and we were doing strong numbers, not great numbers, but stronger numbers for the weekly television tapings. But we still weren't doing quite enough. And now the Netflix series has given us awareness and relevancy, and we've sold out for probably the last 13 or 14 weeks straight. And we have our pay-per-view December 16th that we're going to do on YouTube, and we already physically have already sold more than 3/4 of the tickets for admission into the arena. And so it's been a big help. I mean, but it came at the right time. Going through the process of both building an audience and reacquainting the talent with the skills of what we really do, by telling stories, not just doing wrestling moves, but telling stories, using wrestling to tell the story. If that had happened even a year before, we wouldn't have been in a place that we could have taken advantage of it, but the fact that it's happened now, we're in a place where we can really use it as a springboard to go forward for the company and continue to build. So
I love that. Well, I'm glad that OVW is around. I'm glad that you're passing on your knowledge, because I do think you're one of the most intelligent men in pro wrestling, and that's my opinion. And you can disagree with me or not, but I think it's factual. And to sit down with you again, sir, is an absolute pleasure, honor, bucket list checked off. Do me one favor. I'm a fan at heart, so can we just together ask, what does everybody want?
Sure.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. What does everybody want? Head. Thank you so much, Al Snow, Straight Talk Wrestling. Peace, love, and wrestling, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and turn on that notification bell so you get notified each time we post a video. Alternatively, you can check us out on all podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. We are also available on the SNME Network. That's the Sunday Night Main Event Patreon. Please feel free to check us out there as well. And don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms at _Straight Talk on Twitter, at Straight Talk Wrestling on Instagram, Straight Talk Wrestling on Facebook, Straight Talk Wrestling on TikTok, and of course, you can check out all our merch at ProWrestlingTees.com.